Okay, hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is May Chocher, the APSA Executive Director. Would like to welcome everyone to session 2. So I think we have another 10 minutes until we can start the first agenda. Right now, okay, yeah, we show the technical issue a little bit. All right, we right now have 11 attendees starting from Zoom webinar function. This function is only available for APSA members. And we already start to go live on the YouTube link, which is public for everyone. I mean, even non-members can also join. And hello to all the attendees from China who joined on our WeChat platform. We got very good number of attendees yesterday. We got around 26,000. Thank you very much, Chinese participants, on behalf of the organizers. And also thanks all the attendees who joined us yesterday. So I think before we start the first agenda, I just would like to share a brief instruction. How can we join the webinar today? How can we use the function to ask the questions to all the speakers and panelists? So for the ones who join from Zoom webinar, especially APSA members, you can type the questions and drop in the Q&A box. You can see the Q&A symbol under your screen. So please put the questions in that Q&A function, and because all the questions can be recorded, and then we can take those questions to be answered by the speakers and panelists. If you do not have time today, we can screen the questions and send to the speakers, and they can help to answer, and you can put that in the summary report, okay? For those who join from YouTube link and WeChat, you can also drop the questions to the chat box, okay? When you drop the questions, please address the country that you would like to ask, all right? So today in session 2, we have speaker from Australia, from Korea and Japan, okay? And for the panel discussion, we have representative from Australia, Japan, the Philippines, South Korea, and Thailand. Okay, and it would be nice if you can end also the question with your company, or is okay also if you don't want to mention your company, but just make sure that you address the question to the, just put the name or put the country representative of the speaker or the panelist. All right. So I think everything is clear and is pretty straightforward for everyone to use the function, right? Yeah, I did. I did. And with company name. And with company name. But if you don't want to mention company name, is also fine. Yeah. But just make sure that you mention the one who you would like to ask the question to. Okay, I think it's another 6 minutes. We will start the first agenda. Okay. So yesterday we got good presentations from three countries. We got from China, Pakistan, and India, and we are really sorry that we got some issue with the connection. Though the presentation was very good, and we don't want anyone to miss the opportunity. So right now the presentation from all speakers are posted on the website, and we'll share the link to download the presentation from all 3 speakers on our social media. So please stay tuned. So it will be uploaded during the session 2 also. For those who missed the session 1, you can still access to the same broadcast link. Okay, so you can still watch the live yesterday with the same broadcast link. But anyway, the video will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as well within today. How many so far we have from WeChat?
Yeah, 45 from YouTube.
Okay, 45 on YouTube now. Wow, I'm very amazed by the number. So from the WeChat, we got a report that right now we have 36,500 participants on WeChat. Okay, so I think maybe we can start the agenda. Let's start. Okay, so Alison, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. Okay, so I think everything is ready, and I think we can start around 4 minutes before the time that we mentioned on the agenda, so that we can have a little bit more time for the speakers also to answer the questions at the end of the session. So, all right. So first, I would like to invite Ms. Alison Tien, Secretary General of the China National Seed Trade Association, to give the official introduction to our presenter. Thank you very much, Ms. Alison.
So thank you, Dr. May, for your briefing yesterday's session. So good afternoon, everyone. Dear speakers, panelists, friends, colleagues, and audience. So welcome and thank you for joining us in today's seminar on looking at impact of the COVID-19 on seed trade. My name is Wei Hongtian. I'm the Secretary General of China National Seed Trade Association. So I'm very happy to moderate this the following session. So yesterday, India, Pakistan, and China already update their situations for their countries. Today, we're gonna to continue our discussion and sharing from Japan, Australia, and Philippines. So please now welcome Mr. Tomohiro Kondo, the chair of International Section of Japan Seed Trade Association, to make the presentation. Please welcome Mr. Kondo.
Okay, hello, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tomohiro Kondo, chair of International Affairs Section of JASTA, Japan Seed Trade Association. Thank you for organizing this online seminar and giving us to share our idea with the seed people in our region. Okay, so. Right. Okay. So this is the agenda which the organizer gave to us. And next 15 minutes, I'm going to share some information of our seed trade, impact of COVID-19 on our business, our proposal and idea for the future. Seed trade overview and seed trade related policy of Japan. Seed trade policy. We do not have the import permit system, so you don't have to or you cannot ask your business partner in Japan to apply for an import permit when you export seeds to Japan. Plant quarantine conditions are stipulated by the Plant Protection Law and its enforcement regulations. And you can search for specific quarantine conditions on the NPPO's website. This figure shows changes in the import value of vegetable and flower seeds to Japan. By the way, in Japan, the private sector is mainly involved in the vegetable seed and ornamental seed sector, and our association represents those sectors. Import has been increasing in recent years, and its values reached around 200 million US dollars. This reflects how much our industry relies on overseas seed production. Here are the changes in export value. Again, vegetable seed and flower seed. The export value in those years is between 110 and 120 million US dollars. Here is the top 10 crops by import volume. We tried to find the top 10 by import value, but we couldn't. In fact, these numbers are the quantity inspected by the Plant Protection Agency. This should be close enough to import volume. Spinach, carrot, pumpkin, daikon radish, and cabbage seed are top ranked. Here are the top 10 crops by export volume. The top 3 is the same as imports, followed by the bunching onion and cabbage seeds. This table shows the ranking of the seed import and export partners. Of course, ranking and number changes every year. This is data for a specific year. I'm sorry, we are missing which year's data. It should be from one of the recent years, I believe. This PowerPoint presentation will be available from Absa, I believe. So please check it later if you are interested in. Well, from now, I'm going to talk about the impact of COVID-19. This section first reports common issues and then details in the industry-specific issues. Current situation and control measures. On April 7th, our Prime Minister declared a state of emergency for some areas, and on April 16th, targeted areas were expanded to the whole country. Right after I completed to make this presentation file, the state of emergency became lifted for most of the country, and the emergency order was released for the rest of the country the day before yesterday. I said emergency order now, but it is not correct. It was only a request by the government. By our constitutions, our government cannot be so strong, so it was a voluntary lockdown. Even though our government was not able to force people to stay at home or to order businesses to close, most people and the companies or businesses have changed their behavior in their decisions. People stopped traveling, eating out, drinking out, shopping in crowded areas, and visiting seniors in nursery homes. We have been experiencing a voluntary soft lockdown. This is what was happening in Japan. Border enforcement measures. Entry ban is placed for foreigners from 111 countries or regions. 11 countries are added a few days ago, so now that it's 111 countries and regions. Some numbers. About 17,000 cases have been confirmed so far, but the actual number of people infected is likely to be much higher than this because our government strongly limited the number of PCR tests. We had very limited capacity for the diagnostic tests somehow. There's a big argument on this issue. However, we can see the trend anyhow. We lost around 800 lives, unfortunately. Impact on life and economy. Most schools have been closed since the beginning of March, which had a major impact on the lives of children and parents. We were expecting to host the 2020 Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games in Tokyo this summer. the postponement has a huge impact on both life and the economy of us. At this moment, it is difficult to measure the economic impact of the pandemic, but economists forecast a severe recession, of course. Hotels, travel agencies, retail outlets, restaurants, and bars are some examples of businesses in trouble. Small and medium-sized businesses in this section especially need support. From here, I would like to talk about the impact on the seed industry. One of the biggest impacts on our business is a restriction for the movement of the people. Movement across the border is basically impossible, and movement in the country also refrains. In the R&D department, breeders and product development staff cannot visit their trials in the target areas. In the sales and marketing department, sales forces cannot visit customers. They are trying to exchange the information by phone, email, and virtual meeting instead, but we really need physical visits in some cases. Especially seed production is a big issue. Almost all seed companies rely on overseas seed production nowadays. And without physical visits to the production site, it will require the seed companies more quality control workload later, and the consequences might be delayed shipment of final products. Regarding domestic logistics, although there are some delays, domestic distribution has been relatively okay. Export and imports. This is another big issue. Here are the problems. Communication delay due to the lockout measures in the partner countries. Preparation of documents, for example, import permit, takes longer than normal in most of countries. Shipping delay due to local logistics shutdown in the partner countries or reduced flights. Sometimes it could be more than a month. Sometimes we had to change the shipping method, air freight to ocean freight, due to reduced flights. All of those factors were resulting in delayed delivery, and this causes missing of the sowing slots. With the stagnation of logistics and import-export procedures, or uncertainty of the market, our customers sometimes request postponed delivery and other times ask delivery ahead of schedule. Spring sowing food security. We are finishing spring sowing season, and we are not aware of any major problems with seed supply in this spring. Actually, most of the Japanese companies are holding enough inventory for next season now. Impact on seed supply may appear later. For some horticultural crops, securing foreign workers became a big concern for farmers. Some growers have changed their crop to the other, which needs less labors. Other remarks. Home gardening. Stay-at-home requests can inspire people to start or to expand home gardening. This trend has increased some seed shop sales. Campaigns to stimulate flower consumption was organized. They are called Vitamin F, Stay Home with Flowers. Trend in work style. Telework or work from home, flexible working hours, and virtual meetings has been introduced in any situation for any generation of our business. This change is a must to reduce the chance of infection. About social distancing requirement. changing the layout of the working spaces in offices and warehouses, reducing the number of work days and hours per person, avoiding public transportation for commuting, and switching to commuting by car. These are the measures that the companies are taking to maintain social distancing. Okay. Move to the next topic. Here, I am going to share some suggestions to achieve smooth seed movement. The activities of the ISF, APSA, and the national seed associations should be strengthened to spread the social importance of seed business to the public. It might be nice if we could tell it in connection with the SDGs. We must make the seed industry recognized as an essential business in each country and enable continuous activities under the fight against the pandemic. Mutual understanding and cooperation must be necessary between the business partners, since seed business environment now require more time and cost than ever before. As the seed industry, we should encourage authorities to prioritize the custom clearance duties for seeds. As the seed industry, we should encourage authorities to make actions for smooth domestic seed distribution in the countries where the lockdown measures are in place, maybe asking special measures for agricultural material. It might be a chance for the government to utilize nationalism in seed-related policies, so we have to watch carefully. Post-COVID-19 scenario. To be honest, it may be a little bit too early to think about this subject. We are aware that we are still in the middle of a fight against COVID-19 as phase 1 has just finished in Japan. We just put some ideas here related to the subject which the organizer gave to us. Okay, about the green channel. I did not understand what this word means, and I got it during session 1 yesterday. This might be similar one which I proposed in the previous slides. So basically, we have the same idea, and it would be nice if the green channel also gives to the seed company's employees who need to visit the field overseas, especially seed production sites. Supply chain. We have to rethink about the optimization of our service when we need more time and cost for the movement of seed across the border. We will rethink about where we should place the service centers, where we should keep the inventory, how much inventory we should hold, where we should produce the seed, etc. Seed production. We have another factor of risk on the movement of seed now, and have to consider diversification of seed production sites and distribution centers for risk reduction. Seed movement. There might be concern about the excessive requests for pathology tests at import-export, as I talked previously. So we have to pay attention in order to prevent it. Food security and sustainable agriculture. Countries depending on imported seeds may try to increase their self-sufficiency and secure safety stock. Well, these are all information we prepared to share. We think that We are still in the middle of the fight against the COVID-19. With the rise of globalization, the movement of people from country to country is essential to our business. And the fight against the COVID-19 will not end without the elimination of infection in all countries around the world. We cannot wait for the end of this fight with doing nothing, because the sowing season is coming regularly without change, and we need to unite and collaborate in order to produce high-quality seeds and deliver the seeds to the right place at the right time. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Mr. Kondo, for your informative presentation. And also, thank you very much. We learned a lot from your presentation. And I think it's a very good suggestion that under this, the global health crisis and the unprecedented difficult time, the understandings and collaborations is more necessary more than ever before. Thank you very much for your sharing. Thank you. So, Mr. Kondo, can you shut down your video? Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Oman Miwet, the General Manager of Australian Seed Federation, to share with us. So please welcome Osman. Welcome, Osman, please.
Thank you very much. So, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and thank you also to Mr. Kondo for that excellent presentation to start off today's session. It was very informative, and I think what you will see from my presentation is some very similar themes emerging across the region and some overlaps between what is happening in Japan and what is happening in Australia. And I'm sure that similar overlaps and common themes will emerge throughout the other presentations and the panel sessions that you heard yesterday and that you're about to hear today as well. So for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Osman Miwet, and I'm the General Manager of the Australian Seed Federation based in Canberra, Australia. So today, my role is to give you a brief overview of the seed trade in Australia, in particular seed import and export and agricultural trade. I'll then talk about the impact of the COVID-19 on the Australian seed industry and speak about some of the advocacy initiatives that the Australian Seed Federation has undertaken in order to ensure that the seed industry in Australia was considered essential and was able to operate in the face of government restrictions and shutdowns following COVID-19. I'll then talk a little bit around some ideas that I had around ensuring smooth global and regional seed movement and look at what happens next in this space. So I've split this part of my presentation into seed import and seed export. And so Australia has very, very strict biosecurity protocols for the import of any products, but in particular agricultural goods into Australia. And so those people who need to import seed or other agricultural products into Australia, they need to go to the government's Biosecurity Import Conditions website, or BICON as we call it. And this website outlines all of the conditions and all of the considerations that you need to import seed to Australia. This includes whether an import permit is required, whether the seed that you wish to import is even permitted into Australia, and the country that you want to bring it in from. It gives you any documentation requirements, any treatment requirements, any inspection requirements, and any other requirements that you need to meet before you're able to import seed to the country. So we have very, very strict quarantine rules that need to be met. In regards to export, again, we rely on another Department of Agriculture website. This one is called the Manual of Importing Country Requirements, or MICOR. And this is a resource that our Department of Agriculture provides so that those companies that wish to export seed from Australia, they go to this, and it provides what exporting countries' requirements are that exporters need to meet before they can send seed to other countries. Australian exporters also need to comply with the Export Control Act and any associated legislation, as well as the importing countries' requirements. I'll focus now on Australia's agricultural trade. So we are an agricultural exporting country. We export around 65% of our total agricultural production. And in 2016, the value of this agricultural export was nearly 45 billion Australian dollars. You know, roughly on today's exchange rate, that's probably 35 billion US, somewhere around that mark. The dollar is very bad at the moment. This is nearly 14% of our total goods and services export. So I didn't have the data specifically for seed, so I focused on our agricultural industry as a whole. So beef is our largest agricultural export, followed very closely by wheat, which is our largest grain crop export, then other meat, wool, and alcoholic beverages such as wine. We're a very large exporter of wine. And then there's a number of other commodities also that you can see on that table. So where does it go? Well, really, most of it goes to China. China is by far the largest importer of Australian agricultural products. In 2015, which is the most recent data I had available, China accounted for nearly 20% of total agricultural exports. And it's perhaps not surprising when you look at this table that of the top 10 agricultural exporting key markets for Australia, 8 of them are located in Asia. So China is obviously the key market for us, but then we also have Japan, the Republic of Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Singapore are all key agricultural markets for Australian exporters. So what happened when COVID hit? The Australian government was very, very quick to implement restrictions on gathering, movement, and border controls between our states and territories. And these restrictions coincided with what is the peak sowing time for our winter cereal crops and pastures. So all of our wheat, all of our barley, all of our canola, our oats, our rye, our pastures are all going into the ground at this time of the year. This could have been an industry crisis. But to avert this crisis, the Australian Seed Federation was able to successfully advocate to our federal and our state governments to ensure that the entire seed value chain was categorised as essential and could continue operating outside of the restrictions on borders, gatherings, and movements. So at the height of this crisis, we ensured that we issued a daily information update to our seed company members so that they could be kept informed on what the restrictions that applied to them were and what they were able to do as their business to continue operating. And in addition to this direct political advocacy at both the federal and state level, we're a very small organisation, and we realised that it was important to work very, very closely with other agricultural peak industry bodies. For example, those involved in the input industry, such as CropLife Australia and Fertiliser Australia. We work very closely with farming organisations, and we work very closely with agricultural commodity groups to ensure that the entire agricultural value chain was able to operate and operate effectively to make sure our farmers could get their crops into the ground. Because as we all know, if we miss a major planting window, then in 6 months' time, we have food shortages. And this could have a major impact on Australia's agricultural industry, and indeed our exports, and the food security in those countries that we export to could also be affected. So it was very important that we ensured that the seed industry was deemed essential by the Australian government and could continue to operate. So in the face of all the restrictions, the major impact that COVID-19 had on ASF members was changes around the workplace. And Mr. Kondo, in his presentation, I think really highlighted some of these changes that Japanese workplaces had to put in place, and very similar changes were put in place into Australia. So many of our workers are now working from home. Those workers that do have to go to the office are limiting physical interaction between their staff. Many of the companies that have large seed warehouses have introduced split shifts, staggered meal breaks, or flexible working arrangements to reduce the number of people who are in their seed warehouses at any one time. One tough challenge for Australian members has been avoiding physical interaction with their customers. As you all know, it is very important when you're doing a new deal with a new customer to be able to meet that person face to face and shake their hand. We can't do that anymore. And so our members have had to develop new ways to do business with customers remotely, maybe through Zoom, over the phone, through websites. They've had to develop new and different ways to work, given that they are now unable to meet many of their customers in person like they used to. There's the basic hygiene requirements, hand washing, hand sanitation. We all need to get used to what we are calling the new normal, because this situation is going to continue for some time. And so what we need to do as a seed industry is make sure that we're ahead of the game, that we can see into the future and recognise what restrictions the government is going to put in place and what we need to do to continue our businesses operating in the face of those restrictions. So for my members in Australia, access to affordable freight is their greatest concern. With the shutdown of nearly all commercial passenger aircraft coming into or going out of Australia, it's meant that access to air freight for seed trade is very scarce and is very, very expensive. So the lack of this access to air freight has meant that everyone is looking to sea freight, but then this has had a flow-on effect, which has meant that getting the capacity of this access to sea freight is increasingly difficult, and as a result, the prices of this freight is going up. And so this is the real impact that we've seen on Australian seed companies from COVID-19, is we're finding it very, very difficult just to move seed into and out of Australia. So what happens next? Due to all of the political advocacy we did 1 month ago, we've been able to receive confirmation from our Department of Agriculture that they are going to take additional steps to support the priority clearance of imported seed in response to COVID situation. They recognise the importance of seed to get crops in the ground to ensure that in 6 months' time, we have enough food to feed Australians and to export to the rest of the world, to feed the rest of the world. They understand the pressures of the freight movement, and they understand the importance of doing timely border biosecurity inspections and the priority of seed clearances at the Australian border. So we're not going to stop here. We're going to continue to put pressure on the department and on our governments to make sure that this unfettered movement of seed continues. The greatest challenge for us, as I said before, is getting access to freight. We're hoping that air freight, now that restrictions are slowly starting to lift around the world, that perhaps more air freight will become available. As you all know, sea freight can take many months to get the seed to its destination, and so much greater forward planning is required. So that's where we are in Australia at the moment. I think we're in a much more fortunate situation than a lot of our fellow countries around the world. We have suffered a much lower impact to our nation from COVID than some other countries. And so as a seed industry, we're hoping that we can continue to operate and that our members can continue to sell and produce and clean and package seed and continue to trade in the new world order that we're all facing. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Osman, for your wonderful presentation. I agree with you. So all of us are facing the same difficulties and the problems, such as logistics and transportation, the air freight. Okay, so and also we learn a lot from your presentation. I'm happy to hear that China is the biggest, business partners with Australia in, agricultural products. And also, I'm very impressed by you mentioned 65% of Australia, I should say, agricultural products are export to the overseas market. That means it is critical that the stability of the supply chain is very important to the Australia, not only to the Australia, but also, for the other countries in the world. So thank you again for your sharing. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Awesome. So now, before I invite the last presenter to come, I want to update. Currently, there is more than 32,308 the participants online. Okay, so our participants are increasing. So I think because the seeds is, the start point of the food system. So that's why we are attracting a lot of attention for this topic. So thank you very much. And the next, please welcome Mary Ann Sauer from the Philippine Seed Industry Association. Mrs. Mary Ann is the president of Philippine Seed Industry Association. Please welcome Mary Ann.
Thank you, Alison. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Thank you, APSA and CNSTA for organizing this online seminar. It is impressive that we have a huge number of participants. Let me try to, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay. So, my presentation would actually follow the format of the previous presentations and even the presentation yesterday. For a while, my slide is not moving. For a while. Okay.
So Mary Ann, we cannot see. Oh, okay. Here
okay.
we
Let
are.
me start with the seed trade overview. Yes. Yeah. Can you see it now? Okay.
Yes, we can see.
So let me start with the seed trade overview for the Philippines. In 2018. We imported a total of $119.73 million of seeds. The seeds worth $12.69 million. So as you can see, the Philippines is a net importer of sowing seeds, and you see that there is a huge trade deficit of $107.04 million. And our imported seeds are growing at 69.5% rate. And in 2019, these are the top 10 imported crop seeds. This data, similar to what Condasan has just presented, volume, not on the National Plant Quarantine Services Division of the Bureau of Plant Industry. So as you can see, we are a net importer of rice. Rice is the number one crop seed that we import, mainly from China, India, even from Korea and Myanmar, and then followed by corn to imported from a number of countries, mint from the USA, potato, onion from South Africa, USA, the Netherlands, also Japan, and pak choy, yard long bean, radish, carrot. And number 10 is water convolvulus. This is the water spinach, or what we call the kangkong. So these are coming from the data of the National Plant Quarantine Services Division. Now for the last year, these are the top 10 crop seeds that we have exported. Number one in the list is papaya. We have exported papaya to mostly the Latin and Southeast Asia, in corn to a number of countries as well. This Pueraria javanica is a kind of fodder grass. 5, bitter gourd. And then 6, we also, while we import a lot of rice, we do some export also of specialty rice to these countries. Next, at number 7, there's also another fodder, to Malaysia. Next is ridge gourd, mung bean, and okra. Okay, so as to import and export policy, the lead agency for this is the Bureau of Plant Industry, which has the National Plant Quarantine Services Division. For imported seeds, the requirement is to have a sanitary and phytosanitary import clearance. But this is available online, so we can do online application. For seeds for export, a phytosanitary certificate is required, and this also requires an actual commodity inspection. Now, let's go to the analysis of the impact of COVID-19 on seed trade and movement. In March 15, the enhanced community quarantine was declared in Luzon Island. There were actually, first it was declared for 2 weeks and then extended for another 2 weeks, and until such time that it became 2 months. So last May 16, the enhanced community quarantine was lifted, but now we are under general community quarantine. So under the enhanced community quarantine, what were mandated was home quarantine, so people were really forced to stay home. Non-essential business establishments were closed. Public transportation was suspended, and this became the norm during the quarantine: social distancing, wearing a face mask, and hand disinfection. What's the impact of this on life and economics? As of active cases, total to 14,669. Recovered patients, number 3,412, and we have lost 886 lives. And the challenges that the Philippines is facing now are the following. We have a weak healthcare system. There is limited bed capacity in hospitals, no proper PPE for medical work of test kits, and inadequate testing laboratories. But now the government, I think, has established more testing laboratories and doing more test kits, doing more testings. The one of the challenges too is the repatriation of the overseas Filipino workers. They're coming from all over the world, and they have to do quarantine for 14 days. Now, what is the impact on the economy? 2/3 of businesses did not operate. So 20% of these laid off workers. 45% of non-government and self-employed workers lost their income. The international 65% growth in GDP only. So less than 1% growth in 2020 as compared to a growth in 2019 of 5.9%. Household consumption slowed down by 0.20% and agriculture contracted by 0.40%. Well, what's the impact on the seed industry? During the first week of the lockdown, the Philippine Seed Industry Association also did like what the Australian Seed Federation did, a lot of political advocacy, ensuring that the seeds will be considered part of the critical infrastructure and not subjected to restrictions. So we were able to do this. But despite these issuances from the national government, there were still some activities which suffered, like R&D activities like breeding trials and evaluations were interrupted. Mainly because of the restriction in personal movement. Only a skeleton workforce was allowed in the plant, in the seed processing plants and R&D stations. As far as logistics is concerned, there stoppage of boats, ships, no, that could transport goods and people, no, across the islands. Some ports were closed, and then there were a lot of checkpoints and roadblocks, not only in the major thoroughfares, but even in the villages. The villages were so protective of their community that they just, you know, they don't allow any person who is not a resident of that village to enter the community. And then in a number of provinces, the agricultural supply stores were ordered closed. They were not allowed to operate. On export and import, there was a delay in the processing of import and export permits because of the limited manpower at the NPPO. So there were also only under skeleton force. Ports were congested. There were no public vehicles that, you know, that would bring all these containers to their destination. And there was even one international port because there was a positive COVID-19 case in one of the staff. And cargo flights were also very limited and only for medical supplies, and seeds usually were not considered priority cargo. As far as spring sowing is concerned, we think that there are enough sowing and vegetables. Now, the Philippine government, in response to this COVID-19 pandemic,
So Marianne, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
Marianne,
Okay.
please
Yeah, because in my it says connecting, so I think I lost the connection. Okay. Um, the Philippine Economic Stimulus Act is currently being debated in Congress now, and the proposal is to allocate 25.7 billion US dollars of to finance the infrastructure program on healthcare, education, and food security. This is actually, this amount is 7.2% of the total GDP of the Philippines. And among those programs, the money will be spent on wage subsidies, interest-free loans to micro, small, and medium enterprises. For agriculture alone,
Garrett, I'm so sorry. Your PowerPoint is not share on the screen.
okay. Hindi nag-share. Yeah, let me. Oh, you can see my screen.
Not yet.
Yeah, for a while.
No worries. Okay.
So Mary Ann, if some problem with your share screen, so you can finish up without a video, okay?
Yes. Yeah. Still trying. Sorry about that technical glitch. This is my Zoom.
If it's still to connection, I think maybe you can just give a brief summary for the conclusion, and then
Okay.
yeah, after the session we will share the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we for agriculture alone, there is 1.3 billion dollars also allocation, and can you see it now?
Yes, we can see now. Yes.
Plan program, which is actually to ensure food security. Okay, so the plan program, and also this includes a rice resiliency program of 168 million. This will give free seeds, rice seeds and fertilizers to farmers. Also, vegetable gardening and urban agriculture program was allocated 30 million US dollars funds. Food logistics, $396 million funding, and even cash for work program of 297 million. So during the culture also distributed like 5,000 per farmer, no, for at least 1.2 million farmers. Now, the impact of COVID on the seed industry, there was a heightened interest on home gardening. That's same as in the other presentation. So there was increased demand for vegetable seeds in value packs, and also e-commerce, digital marketing, became the trend. Work from home is the new normal. We have a lot of virtual meetings, more frequent catch-ups, and companies have adopted telecommuting policies. as in other countries, social distancing requirements are, observed. 2 shifts, so there is a kind of rotation. Adjustments made in the floor layout of the seed processing and packaging facilities. Installation of plastic screens between workstations, and of course, the regular wearing of masks, hand hygiene, and disinfection of work areas. Now, suggestions for ensuring the smooth global and regional seed trade. So the seed industry should continue to push their governments to recognize seed as part of the critical infrastructure. We have to continue with that lobbying or political advocacy on part of the national seed associations. As an example, the Philippine Seed Industry Association tapped the
Okay, probably some problems with Mary Ann. So thank you very much for Mary Ann, your excellent presentation. So my part almost finished, but from the 3 presentations, we can learn the impact of the COVID-19 is in anywhere. So impact on our social life, as Dr. Condon said, of the lifestyle change, working style change, so the business model change, so the impact on the seed industry. So that's why we are here today to talking about the impact of COVID-19 on seed trade, and we are trying to think the best solution for the food security. Okay, so Mary Ann, so
Yeah.
you want to close your presentation?
Yeah, okay, really sorry about the internet connection, but as I was saying, I think I only have okay. What I'm saying is this COVID pandemic, there is a lot of uncertainty when this will end. So I think we need to cope with the situation and I think be united in finding solutions and making sure that seeds are moved domestically and globally so we could ensure food security. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary Ann, for your excellent presentation. Okay, so thank you again, Mr. Condon, Osman, and Mary Ann for your wonderful presentation. I think I can finish my part, but I just remind you because of the very tight agenda. So if you have questions, so from the audience outside of China, you can use YouTube to send a text message through the YouTube, and the audience inside of China, you can send your text message through the Tencent, the live broadcast platform. So then the speakers cannot answer your question online immediately, but after the seminar, SingSTA and APSA Secretariat will reply to you by email to you. So thank you very much for all speakers, Mr. Condon, Mary Ann, and Osmi. I will invite Mrs. Zhou Qin, the head of the vegetable seeds, Syngenta Group China Seeds, to chair the panel discussion. So please welcome Mrs. Qin.
Thank you, Alisa. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Qin, the head of vegetable seeds for Syngenta China. Very glad I'm the chair for today's panel discussion. Today, we have panelists from 5 countries: Australia, Japan, Philippines, South Korea, and Thailand. Now, I'd like to invite all the panelists. Please turn on your video. Thank you. I would like to our panelists using one sentence to introduce yourself, your name, and which company you're representing. So Michael, please.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Michael Leader. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, where, as you can see, we are still working from home in Melbourne. I work for Bayer, the Bayer Group in their crop science division, where I head up a seed regulatory function for Asia. So I'm responsible for helping with regulatory issues associated with seed movement and other aspects of seed regulation in the Asia Pacific region. And it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And Ando-san, please.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Takahiro Ando. I'm a general manager of Taki and Company Limited, located in Kyoto, Japan. I am responsible for seed sales and marketing, especially for international market and also international business. So today I am very glad to join this precious webinar to exchange our experiences and ideas to tackle against the issues in the middle of COVID-19 outbreak. Thank you.
Thank you. And Marianne, please, again.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Marianne Sayo. I work with East West Seed as a public affairs lead. That's why I work for the whole East West Seed group, but I'm currently based in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Yu, please.
My family name is John.
John.
Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jung Yu Song in Korea. I am working for the Nomu Bio as a managing director of the Korean Seed Indonesia. Actually, I'm working in Indonesia, but nowadays I'm in Korea for the holiday. So the next month I come back to Indonesia. So as you know, Nomu Bio is one of the leading vegetable seed company in Korea. So Nomu has been working in the many countries for the breeding, seed production, and sales and marketing. So it's very nice for us to share information and then our situation under the COVID-19 with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Last, Sumitra, please.
Good afternoon and good morning. My name is Sumitra. I'm working in Jiatai. Jiatai is the Thai company. We are going to be 100 years next year. And our headquarters is in Bangkok. But we do have like Jiatai in the Philippines, Vietnam, India, Myanmar, and China, as we call it Jenta. Our Jiatai product is mostly vegetable, and we focus on cucurbits, solanaceous plants, and cucurbits. Thanks EFSA and China Seed Association for this opportunity to be with you here in this event on COVID Talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for introduction. So today panel discussion, basically I have two questions. I will go by questions. So first question is, what was the challenges caused by COVID-19 and the short-term solution in your company? And you can specify in one area, such as R&D, seed production, sales marketing, or trade, seed movement. So with that question, firstly, I will invite Michael to share your experience.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be the first of the panel to be able to respond on this and share a bit of our experiences and challenges in the region during this crisis. So, I mean, as you know, Bayer is a big company that's involved not just in crop science, but also in pharmaceuticals and also in consumer healthcare products, and has been working on the agricultural side in R&D, breeding, and through to fungicides, herbicides, as well. So we have a significant range of agriculture products, but also more globally other products as well. Look, I will say that we have been working full steam ahead to try and deliver all of these products and all the essential products that farmers need, as well as consumers and patients. The majority of our production facilities have still been working largely according to plan. It has to be said during this crisis. And I will say that a lot of that, and I will say a big thank you to the seed associations, and Asia Pacific is no exception in the ability that they have been able to get to governments and make agriculture be, I guess, considered an essential service that has really enabled us to continue our business and to deliver to farmers. And so we need to call that out as one of the significant wins and how that has managed to keep our business going. Look, I will say it hasn't been easy for Bayer employees and for staff, as it is for everybody during this crisis. They've had to deal a lot with shift work now, with isolation from colleagues, but also with the uncertainty about what is going to happen next. Bayer has tried to help employees by setting up easy to access mental health care facilities and people to talk to if needed, but also providing, as I'm sure other companies have, with sanitizer and other abilities, social distancing measures in our plants, and all of those other things that have been helpful to help continue with business. But it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy at all. The business itself, we've had to work almost twice as hard to continue going. There have been significant challenges, which I know that some of the seed associations out there today have already showed and demonstrated. We have had difficulties with border clearances, with not enough staff there to help that out. You've seen with actually getting onto planes and ships, the increased costs there. A lot of the time when we're ready to get on a ship, we haven't been able to get the export documentation on time from the actual other countries. And we've been running very hard to make sure that that everything comes at the right time when things are being shut down. We've had problems even within countries, just trying to understand the local governments are interpreting rules different ways, which has proved problematic in trying to get to the growers in the different parts of countries. We've also had to understand what documents all of a sudden are needed in order to make the shipments and the consignments travel along. So that kind of thing has not been easy, and communication has been key. And again, seed associations have been very helpful in doing that as well. Demand, we think going forward, may well be affected also as farmers have really had reduced access to labour too, and that is going to be a watch out. Significant piece of our work has been research and development as well. Bayer is a significant innovation company, and I will call out that a lot of that has been affected during this process. While we've been dealing with seed movement and getting commercial shipments out, a lot of aspects of R&D and new plant breeding innovations, legislation that was going to be discussed to improve the situation has not happened. Some of our trials on biotechnology traits, those offices have closed down, and we've not been able to access those. Testing has been problematic in some of the labs that have shut down as well in government, as well as particular organisations that deal with R&D material as well to bring in that have been in particular zones that have not been able to open. So these have been challenges, and we have been working closely with the seed associations to try and alleviate those concerns. But even as a company, the important thing is still being seen to help out in communities, and we've been doing that as well. And we've kept those efforts up as we've continued this crisis. Just quick examples, and I'll close, Madam Chair. But we have been converting some of our production facilities to produce sanitizer in countries. We've been providing free PPEs and sanitizers to farmers and to our customers. In India, we've set up kiosks, temporary kiosks, so that farmers can get access to money We've been helping them with sanitizer and mobile phones for them to be able to use money and access the money that they need. We've also looked at trying to get bulk suppliers in contact with growers in India as well, to try and make sure that they still do get money for their crops. In China, we've also sponsored radiology conferences, global ones, where Chinese radiologists can share their experiences at the front line of COVID-19 with other radiologists around the world. And so we've been trying ongoing work to maintain close connection with the community, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So what I heard that the key point is the company not only cope with difficulty internally, but also help the community, and then to make sure the operation continue to have a good relationship with seed association and keep communication. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And same question, I would like to invite Ando-san, as Taki is focusing on breeding. So can you share your experience, difficulty, and how you get over these challenges, especially in R&D side?
Okay, yes, so we are breeders of vegetable and flowers. Of course, we do seed production and commercial sales. But if I share our experience on R&D, it is quite similar to what other speakers or panelists have said in the previous sessions. Difficulty is evaluation of trials and how to secure our trials, and also how we evaluate and select good materials to continue our R&D, because as all of us are facing, travel is restricted and we cannot travel. Even in Japan, our company has restricted business trips, domestic, and of course international. International, we do not have much options, but even in Japan, we cannot travel as we want. But what we are doing is just to ask our farmers or staff members at the location, get to the location anyway, and maybe they may take a video or a photo, and we get communication with them by telephone or video conference to get their reactions. But breeders or specialists cannot get into the field. So I personally do not know what kind of effects in the long run, but in the short run, we do not know exactly what is going on in the field. That is a restriction on the R&D. And also for the coming month, we may have other trials, but sending out our trial seeds is also kind of a limitation, because of the difficulty of sending seeds outside of Japan to export. Of course, sending out from Japan is okay, but receiving the seeds at the destination country is difficult, even though they may be able to receive the seeds, but it may take time. And also it relates to the commercial seeds. Sometimes we need to get the import permit, but due to human resources or availability of government agencies, we may not be able to get the import permit in timely manner. So those kind of things are all combined.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I understand the difficulty in the trial arrangement. In Syngenta, we had a similar problem, and then that's true. We work with local farmers to get best data as we can. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, and it was very interesting that I do not know those farmers had experience in evaluating or even taking pictures of the plants, but we asked them to take pictures and they did a very good job.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Okay, I would like to invite Marianne to share your experience with your company, the challenges and the solution.
Yeah, thank you, Jean. Yeah, for East West, it was really very challenging. The lockdown, the personal restriction in personal movement, but the important thing was really what the company did, not only in the Philippines, well, our headquarters is in Thailand, but in all the other countries where we are, we kept the communication lines open. So there were weekly updates from our CEO and from the general managers on the situation, because this lockdown could give a lot of psychological stress on employees. So we made sure that the communication lines were open. And Anderson has already talked about the difficulty in continuing with the trials and evaluations, and also there were since the mass gathering of people, the large gathering of people were not allowed. The field days and also product launchings were all canceled, and we had to resort to virtual online launching, online field days. So that's we had to make do with a virtual field days. We also did a lot of webinars on the guides to vegetable production, doing a plant doctor online, to be able to still reach out to our customer farmers, and of course also a lot of e-commerce. We've never received so much requests for like for these value packs from the home gardenings. There was really a heightened increase in the interest in home gardening. We were fortunate that the seed processing plant it was able to operate, so that we didn't no close down. We were able to operate a skeleton workforce, of course observing all the necessary precautions. And seed production, we are on the stage that we were almost done. So with the seed production, so there was some delay in the delivery, in the collection of seeds from farmers, because there was restriction in travel and movement. But we were able to to get clearances and even special identification cards for personnel, which were given by the Department of Agriculture. So I would like to emphasize again the importance of really having an open dialogue with the Department of Agriculture. Even the Seed Association did an online meeting with the Secretary of Agriculture, and he listened to all the problems we were facing, and he immediately acted on it. And Michael talked about, also a sense of community. As a seed company, I think it's very important during this pandemic, to show a sense of community. And we also did seed donations, so donating seeds through the government, also donation of fresh vegetables, because it is summertime here, it's really harvest time. So we helped the farmers growing our vegetables market their seeds. We bought them and also donate them to a number of communities, also with the PPE and the like. So I think this sense of community is both beneficial to the seed company and to the recipients. So that's how we did it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and especially when you talk about digitalization, that I think digital evolved a lot from this crisis, and almost every company switched to online. So that is a big step up for the agriculture industry. Thank you for sharing. So next, I would like to invite Yo-sung to share your experience.
Yes, actually, I'm preparing some my idea about our situation in Korea. So generally at first I like to share some brief information about the COVID-19 in Korea. The most confirmed case appeared from the middle of February to the middle of March. Since early April, the number of the confirmed patients has been stable. So nowadays we can say that the Korean Disease Control Division is managing the infected patient properly. And then actually there was no lockdown in Korea since the virus outbreak. So we can say that the Korean domestic market, seed market, was not affected by the COVID-19 severely. So during the peak time of the pandemic in the middle of February, it was the end of the spring sales season. So during that time, we most seed already supplied to the farmers. So that's why there was not so big affected effect in our market. And then the import and then export situation is more severe compared to the other. Especially the seed export, it seems very tough challenge in our seed business at this moment. Many airliners reduced or started their international operation. Even some courier cut their service to some the destination. So that's why our difficulty may be the same as other companies and then other countries. So difficult to reserve the space for the shipment, difficult to send the shipment for the customers located in inland country, such as the Central Asian country. Also, sometimes we can meet the closing time for the shipment due to the delay of documentation, like import permit from our customers. Also, the freight cost is skyrocketing. You know, some destination, the shipping cost almost 4 times more than the 4 times than the before. Yeah. Also, we have also R&D difficulties. You know, our company also doing some. We have some R&D center in other countries, but nowadays our breeders cannot visit that R&D centers. So most our breeders must stay in their base only. So that's why they cannot do the evaluation of the new combination. Also, they cannot do the generation development in other country. Also, they cannot do that local adaptation trial for R&D purpose. So in case of seed production, in Korea, our company almost 90% of our seed are being produced in other country. But actually the most seed production plan for the 2020 harvest were made in end of the last year. So stock seed was shipped to our production area before the COVID-19 outbreak. Only some stock seed of the cucurbita crops for March or April sowing has some problem. So at this moment, our production team are very concerned about this year result because they cannot go to the field, you know. Also they have to monitor the status of the seed production with the crop report or the phone call only. So since it's not possible to inspect the field directly, the seed production team concerned how to manage the quality control in the production site. If the pandemic crisis lasts, they must consider how to import the seed after seed harvesting. So for the next year, the seed production, we already started making our plan. and then also we are now arranging the stock seed shipment to the seed production area. For next season seed production plan, now we are arranging the stock seed for the biennial crops for the northern hemisphere, the sowing, also the annual crops in the southern hemisphere, the seed production plan. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so for your company, your seed mostly import from outside of Korea. So now I thank you for sharing that you do the early shipment to prepare next seed production cycle.
Yeah.
Thanks. Last one, I would like to invite Sumitra to share the difficulty you had and how did you get over this difficulty.
Thank you, Shin. In Thailand, we started to have COVID from. It was very fortunate. It was after APSA and ISTA seminar and workshop that we did during the middle of February, and after that, after it started March, and then the country started to do completely lockdown, starting by April. So the department store closed down, restaurant open only for the take home, and hotel completely closed down. So the staff of our company has to, you have to minimize the number of the people in the office. So like more than 60% work from home. So the traveling of visiting to some places is very difficult because you cannot have accommodation. But then fortunately, Thailand is I think thanks to the government, they control a very nice number. We have only not only but it's 3,000 infected number, with the number of death of like close to 60. And now we started to have like only one number of infection. And hopefully now they released the lock to phase 2, and they said maybe phase 3 coming soon. And but the country is still no international travel from outside. So as maybe Kondosang or in Marianne or the Philippines, from the Philippines, and also colleagues from Australia had mentioned that the people start stay home, and then the workers and some lost their job and they went home, and then the people started to grow their vegetable backyard. So it's the benefit of the home garden business. The consumption is very high, and actually our factory has to work 24 hours production. It was like even harder than normal time. So regarding the international trade, as I think it's similar to other that it's the slowdown of the movement, and some customer like delay the order, and then for import and export is possible with some delay, but I see I try to see the positive side of life. So looking at I think in the future, maybe Thai government could work out with the new normal, now for import and export, the Thai custom, they started to implement the electronic version of document. From before they asked for the original, but this day they accept the picture image version. So I think in the future we may ask them to adopt this. And also for the country, for Thai company, not only seed business, but every business that has export facility. Actually, Thai custom, they do have like the it's called AEO system, stand for Authorized Economic Operator. And if you get the gold AEO certificate, and you can get the fast track inspection from custom, and you can also have a number of tax refund per year. And regarding this international trade, I'd like to inform a bit on our phytosanitary issue. It was very hot during last year, and maybe our colleagues, especially from the country that you export the tomato, hot pepper, and eggplant to Thailand, the Thai government started to implement the detection of tomato brown locust, fruit virus, and 5 viroids already. I mean, they detect our seed when we export, and then they detect the imported seed. So they're using PCR procedure to detect this. So please make sure your seed is free. And then in the area of logistic, fortunately, even we have emergency act from the government, but the movement of agricultural product is an exception. So you can go 24 hours. The logistic, the truck can move 24 hours with special documents. So, but you need to do many documents, and then you declare you carry agricultural product, and it's also including seeds. So for domestic, we have no effect on domestic logistic, but of course international logistic, I think we face the same thing, like many friends mentioned here, that the cost of air freight, we saw 3 to 10 times higher cost of the air freight, and it's unmanageable time because the plane usually cancel very often, and we have to search for the new flight, and delays maybe 1 day, 1 week, something like that. Sometimes we have to go somewhere via several countries, so it's very difficult and expensive. And also the sea freight as well is also delayed, because I think like both in Thailand and other countries, that the government staff they reduce the number in the office, so the bottleneck is also with the government staff, and it slows down our seed shipment internationally. And another part I like to share is as you Jiang has mentioned on seed production. We also got a big effect on seed production, especially the quality assurance. Field visit is difficult, as you have no hotel to stay, and you cannot get the field inspection certificate for disease free, because some country asks for field inspection certificate for disease free, right? But the government cannot do this for us because they don't allow their staff to travel. So as you know, in Thailand, we have several production season. This time is also one of the season of like cucumber or watermelon. And then we do like to have many field inspection certificate, but it's not was not possible. We have to work out what to do with this. As Kondo-san mentioned, I think it will be a hard job of QC people. They will do double job on several check. And also the international trip for field inspection for seed production people. For both us, we cannot go abroad, and the supplier from abroad cannot come and visit field inspection. So I think we have to rely cross finger on our supplier report, and talk with them more often, and then do very precisely inspection in our laboratory. So the impact of COVID is very hard on the fresh product of Thailand, because we the consumption is in normal time we have a lot of tourists, because we are the country having a tourist industry. So once the country locked down, the fresh consumption drops. So the price of fresh vegetable and price of fruit drop to 50%. Is very so I saw like Marianne mentioned, that the people start to donate in the community, and I saw farmers start to give fresh product for free for the people who lose their job, or for the people who want some, yeah. So that's the situation similar to many countries. Yes, that's.
Thank you for sharing, Sumitra. And I think challenges and difficulties are similar among seed companies. And only Sumitra see the opportunity on home gardening.
And no, everybody, I think everybody, every country like Japan and East West, the Philippines, I think they get this opportunity too.
That's good to hear. And you already jumped to second question, to give a suggestion to government. Now,
yeah, I do have some more.
Yeah, okay. Now, my second question is, what's your suggestion for the government, association, and industry to overcome the challenge to ensure food security and sustainable agriculture post-COVID-19 crisis? Okay, so let's go one by one and same secret. So Michael, please.
Back to me. Okay, thank you. I think this is a very interesting question, and one that, we should be focusing on now. The human race is a resilient one, and we will get through this COVID-19 crisis, hopefully sooner rather than later. But we should be using this as what have we learned, and how can we be better coming out the other end? And I think a lot of governments, following this, when they're back at their desks and focusing on their day-to-day issues, will be considering how can they better secure their food security and their economic stability going forward in the case of a future pandemic or other emergencies, I guess, that we haven't really planned for. So I think there is, as part of this, if there's a lesson that has come out of this, I guess, is that there is more awareness of the importance of a secure food chain, to be able to provide that sustainability to countries. Look, I think as well as the government awareness on this, I think these circumstances have given the seed associations and the seed industry a better level of communication and interaction and relationship with governments as well. That have been seen in a positive light. And I think we should use this opportunity going forward to continue that dialogue with governments and use this as an opportunity to actually present some solutions and how we can be part of the solution to ensure that food supply and food security is guaranteed going forward. And I can mention some of those examples. I know Sumitra mentioned the example of e-phytos, or the e-phyto solution that's being coordinated through the International Plant Protection Convention. But I think a lot of governments have tried a little bit of this during this crisis. But I think it's a great opportunity to continue that going forward, to really make seed movement and movement of food a lot easier going forward. So I think we can help as a seed industry in terms of being part of case studies, pilot studies on how this can work, but in also highlighting the importance that the systems are already there and how to get that implemented in countries. So I think that would be a great thing to help out. I think some of the other things is really pushing now for a harmonization of pest risk analyses throughout the world. APSA has been a very helpful in getting governments, at least in this region, focusing on trying to get regional pest lists and a focus on seed. Where is seed a pathway in the terms of trying to make seed movement better in the region? We sort of have heard mention of a green channel. I guess an ease of certainty of knowledge of what the pests are that need to be tested for would be very helpful. I think we've also seen some closures of testing labs, and governments are really reliant on their labs to test for in order to meet the requirements of exporting countries. But I think there's an opportunity now to really look and use I guess, third-party labs and to accredit them to do phytosanitary testing for governments. So starting to do some ring tests and some proficiency testing and amendment of legislation to make this possible, I think it will really help going forward and help with trade as well. And the last piece that I guess I will touch on is R&D material, and I guess trying to bring in new germplasm, new disease-resistant strains, other opportunities to increase food security as well. I think it's time for governments to have a look at the systems they have for new varieties and for the way that they get brought in and trialled in countries as well through the phytosanitary and variety registration process. I think it's good opportunities for the seed industry to play a part there. So if I had tips for everybody on the call now, I guess I would say, yes, we need to communicate more with governments and amongst ourselves when we have issues, when we have positions. You know, we need to partner more with our seed associations and with governments to do pilot studies and to make it clear that on how we can successfully move safe seed. And I guess we need to remember in the end that our customer is the farmer, and we should keep them in mind all the time. Bayer is committed to helping any way they can with these future ideas. I mean, our major vision, our vision is health for all and hunger for none. And I think there is an opportunity now to make that vision closer to reality, I guess, going forward. So thanks again for the opportunity to comment on that question.
Thank you, Michael. Fantastic opinion that we need to partner with each other and leverage seed association to help government ensure the agricultural sustainability. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Ando-san to share your thoughts.
Yes, I agree to Michael. We need to have a good communication between the seed companies or seed industries through association with the government and also all the related partners. That means farmers also is the most important part. During this pandemic, many farmers in many countries are affected with the economic impact. If when this outbreak is finished and we get back to normal and we recovered, farmers, the most important partners of us, and by that time, we are not sure if they are recovered well or not. And they are backbone of agriculture. That means the backbone of all the industries. So as an association, we may need to communicate well with the government how we can support the farmers. That is one thing. And also other part from seed company is logistics. So that is a very important matters. Before COVID-19 happened, nobody expected that airlines stopped all the operations. I never thought. And all of a sudden, all the commercial airline stopped the operation, and we could not move, and we could not ship the seed. And as many people pointed out, cost of the transport has increased a lot, and that means farmers may need to pay more if we think economic side. And so in case the second wave of COVID-19 outbreak happened, we have to be well prepared. And before that happens, even before this pandemic finished, we have to have a good communication with all the relevant partners, including transport industry, to secure and also ensure the transport of the essential items, which means a seed. And also with the government, of course, import permit and the phytosanitary certificate, quarantine inspection, and those kind of things has to be smooth enough to secure smooth movement of seeds. So it is quite understandable that we have less human resources for that area if a pandemic happens. But in order to ensure the sustainable agriculture and maintain seed supply, we need assistance from government in countries in the region. So I hope association or seed industry can communicate well with those government. And
thank you.
Those are the 2 points.
Thank you, Endo-san. Thank you for mentioning farmers. Farmer is the weakest part in the food chain. Thank you. Yeah, we really need to take care of farmers. Thanks for your point. And next, Marianne, please share your thoughts. Hello?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. A lot of have been said by Michael and Ando, and just to add, so more than ever, now is the time for the seed industry to join the ranks of all the stakeholders engaged in the food chain. The Seed Association plays a very a vital role, and the membership seed companies, I think, should support the government programs in place to keep the food chain functioning. This is the time for the seed sector to foster goodwill and build relationship with the government, with the regulatory agencies, and with the other stakeholders. It would be easier, a dialogue will be easier among the stakeholders if there is trust, created among them. So I mentioned that supporting the government programs and also this community sense of community undertakings, so that would really help open the doors to further dialogues, because especially now, what this pandemic also, I wouldn't say the positive side, but I think one of the impact of this pandemic is there is a heightened appreciation from government on the important role of agriculture, and because it's agriculture which is really engaged in producing food for the populace. So we should, I think, take this opportunity to bring to the government, to the regulators, the importance of having an enabling environment for the seed sector. And what I'm saying is, it's good to join the conversation on policies like the regulatory framework for plant breeding innovations, for the e-phyto, which is really very, I think, important now. System approach too. So I think these topics would be a good openings for a dialogue with with government, the policy makers and regulatory agencies. And also, I think what we should guard against is there is also the tendency for governments to become, you know, so nationalistic. What I mean to say is they might close, you know, the doors to foreign companies, to you know, seeds coming from other countries. So I think we should be we should be worried about this, and still send a message that, you know, see, it's a global, this is a global thing, because not one country, you know, is can be dependent only on its own, you know, seed industry. And so I think we should continue to let the voice of the seed industry be heard through our seed associations, through APSA, through ISF, and even partnering with other multilateral organizations. The louder the voice, the better it would be heard. And I think also a lot of information sharing, transparency, information sharing, and trust building, because together, I think we should be able to find faster solutions. Thank you. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Marianne. Next, I would like to invite Yu Sun to share your thoughts.
Yes, actually, the COVID-19, it's nobody experienced this kind of virus until now. So the post-COVID-19, yeah, it sounds very, very tough for me. However, it seems this kind of the pandemic could happen anytime and anywhere. Also, so far, we don't know when the COVID-19 crisis will be completed. So until its vaccine or the medicine for curing this virus are developed, so we may have to live together with this kind of virus for a while. So I believe that it is very necessary to consider how to do our business under the pandemic crisis. So yeah, since the COVID-19 outbreak, many countries make the urgent measure to help their companies or support some essential business financially. But also most countries guarantee the agricultural activities domestically, even under the national lockdown. However, it is true, the seed movement between the countries is not smooth. And then the seed production or the breeding activity in other countries almost stopped due to each country's restriction. So unfortunately, so far there's no any measures to sustain the agricultural business under the pandemic crisis in the international society. That's why the many people are very concerned. It can cause some severe problem, not only to obtain the certain seed inventory for their business, but also to secure the stable food supply. So I have the two ideas, but these two ideas are very personal idea. The first one, it seems a little bit tough, but also it might be the long-term solution. For the sustainable farming or doing agricultural business in each country, so we need to work together. Individual, the seed company and countries cannot handle this matter. So I like to suggest that APSA, ISF, and all the seed association and all seed companies should persuade the government of each country can ensure all seedmen to do their activities or the operation domestically as well as internationally. So we are saying the green channel for the seed movement nowadays, but I think we need the green channel for the seedmen's activity as well. So so that whenever we needed to visit somewhere for the breeding or seed production or some other seed business purpose, so we can go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are doing the breeding and seed production and the sales and marketing in globally. Also, we are still have to do many face-to-face operation with the local farmers and then inspect the field directly. The virtual meeting can cover the only part of our business. For the breeding, the seed production, and the field operations, our office are not in the building, but in the field where our crops are grown for breeding, seed production, and then sales and marketing trial purpose. So maybe my idea, maybe some special visa for someone who are working for the seed business could be considered. Yeah, that's my idea.
Thank you.
When some seedmen go to some state or some country, all seedmen must be checked if he or she are infected by virus with some official test. That's my first idea. And then the second idea is similar to other persons. Also, it might be the more practical matters. So our import and export documentation, like applying the import and export permit, getting the certificate of origin. Nowadays, this kind of operation being done in online. However, we need to extend the online operation more for the easy seed shipment. So also with the more online documentation, we may be able to prevent the congestion in the seed movement between the countries. That's my idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seems everyone were excited to give suggestion to government. So Sumitra, you are the last one. We run out of time. So can you summarize your idea? Thank you.
I actually prepare what the people had said before. So I think, I don't know when the pandemic of the COVID will be stopped, but once the COVID stopped, but we should not forget what we cope and how we solve the problem during the COVID. So we are all working online and we using internet things, and I think I hope that we should approach this like online approach, to together from the association like APSA, maybe together with other like ISF or many members and National Seed Association in especially Asia Pacific region, because we are in a large food consumption country. So I think in terms of food security will be the issue after the post-COVID. I believe that every country has to think that every country needs to have sufficient economy. You try to rely everything, the consumption inside your country. So I think, and this is very important for us as well, that I don't know if the seed industry will change their movement or their consumption, but as many people mentioned that the opportunity of after COVID is to come together and let's be the strong voice to push the online approach. We need many things that we don't have, like the information system, the pest list of each country. When I go for the seminar, the people from different countries always ask for the pest list of several countries, because we trade globally, and we would like to have e-phyto, but it seems that we need to convince our governments and in the region as well. So, and also, I think it's time that we can easily share the regulatory issue. We don't need to set up a very expensive event of having the people sit down face to face. We can try this easily and share things. And as I do convinced that the system approach is our big challenge. And if we can convince everybody and we push in this way, and we could make the world become the same system, as we realize that we get the same impact. I mean, every country got the same impact from COVID. So we cope similarly, and why don't we make something similarly under several issues all of us mentioned. So that's my wrap up.
Thank you, Sumitra. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for throw out ideas and share your opinion. And then I think we need more collaboration and communication. And also many panelists mentioned about this association and APSA. So I think we set higher or new expectation for APSA. So with that, last agenda, I invite Dr. May to give a closing speech. May, please.
Thank you very much. I think this is very fruitful discussion in a panel discussion. I myself learned a lot on the challenges, and I would like to thank all the speakers today, and I especially all the panelists today from 4 countries. We have from Japan, Korea, Thailand, and Philippines. Thank you very much. What I learned from the panel discussion, I think the key highlights on the challenges is very similar to all the countries. We have the travel restriction. We got very big challenges on international seed movement, and especially the facility that got a big affected is on the new product development or R&D facilities. I would like to also thank the chair of the panel discussion, Ms. Chin Zhou. And I'm sorry if my pronunciation is not good.
That's correct.
I think that's very well organization that you have. Also the micro leader Marianne, Takahiro Ando, Dr. Sumitra, and Jeong Yusung. Thank you very much. And for the highlight for the post COVID-19, I learned also from the presentations and also from the panel discussion that we need to work together. I think that APSA is a big umbrella or the platform, the forum for the regional seed associations that we need to collaborate more also with the national seed associations. And also normally we have the good collaboration with other organizations in the world, or World Seed Partnership like ISTA, ISF, and other organizations. So I think those organizations are very good resources for us, and we can use that resources and also help to share with national seed associations. So I'm so glad to hear that collaboration that we are doing today would help a lot to the seed sector to cope with this situation. And I also like the point that our panelists mentioned for the post scenario, that the food security has to be a big agenda also to be considered. A support from the government is a big need, and green lane or green channel that we discussed. And also, I heard that the policy also should be harmonized, especially on the seed trade. How can we move better in, an idea about the third party lab accreditation? I think that's very important. And also a concept of the, I guess, if we put the keywords, it would be similar to the system approach concept, which we are working also with our committee inside APSA. So we learned a lot from this session, and again, all the presentations will be uploaded on our website and will be shared to the public to download by tomorrow. All the session on the YouTube today will be uploaded also tomorrow. So anyone who missed the session today, you can share to your friends or anyone who interested to watch it later by tomorrow. So with that, I would like to again thank you very much all the speakers today. Mr. sorry, Mr. Tomohiro Kondo from Japan Seed Trade Association, Osman Miwet from Australian Seed Federation, Marianne Sayok, again the president of Philippine Seed Industry Association or PSIA. Thank you very much. Everyone made this forum a successful forum. And thank you very much all attendees from Zoom webinar, from Tencent Link. We got very good number from Tencent Link today. It's more than 40,000 also that they are watching us today. And also thank all the attendees who joined us from the YouTube link. We will come back again in the session 3. So we will hear the view from the representative outside Asia Pacific region. So please join us back again. So the session will start at 6 p.m. Bangkok time. All right. So please come again. So you will hear more update from USA, Chile, from France, Netherlands, and Italy. Thank you very much and see you again at 6 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye.